The stone breathes, pressing inward as a jagged throat of earth threatens to swallow the golden host. Suspended within the suffocating dust, the vanguard of the Egyptian empire marches into the mouth of certain oblivion. Their majestic chariots and polished armor rendered utterly useless against the crushing weight of the dark ravine. Rising like a primordial tomb on either side, demanding absolute, terrifying submission. To walk this path is a military suicide, drawn by the hands of a madman, dragging a generation into the dark. In the suffocating, motionless air of the pass, the seasoned generals tremble beneath their heavy linen, calculating the horrific geometry of an ambush from above, fully aware that in this narrow corridor of jagged rock, a single falling stone will ignite a slaughter that will erase Egypt from memory. But at the vanguard, where the shadows pool the deepest, the living God does not blink. He breathes the stale, dead air of the ravine, hearing only the whispers of Amun. The heat is not merely a temperature. It is a physical, suffocating entity that wraps around the throats of 10,000 men, compressing the air until every drawn breath feels like swallowing hot sand, transforming the greatest military force of the ancient world into a singular, agonizing organism. Through the violent, choking haze of pulverized limestone, harsh, blinding shafts of volumetric light pierce the gloom like divine spears, illuminating the microscopic veins of sweat streaking through the gray dust caked upon the exhausted faces of the infantry, mapping the brutal geography of human endurance. Here, the grand logistics of imperial conquest are reduced to the width of a single chariot wheel. The majestic war machines, designed to sweep across the open plains like the terrifying breath of a desert storm, are forcibly dismantled and carried piece by heavy piece upon the raw, bleeding shoulders of conscripts, reducing the poetry of war to the excruciating mathematics of simple survival. Every footstep is a calculated gamble against gravity, against terror, against the inevitable collapse of bone. The weight of an entire civilization is balanced upon the fragile edge of a fractured stone. The silence within the gorge is wound so impossibly tight that it becomes a weapon itself, amplifying the biomechanical dread of the march until the frantic heartbeat of a terrified stallion reverberates against the canyon walls. Like the deafening, rhythmic strike of a ceremonial drum echoing in a crypt. Above them, the jagged ridgeline looms against a sliver of burning sky. An invisible theater where a handful of Canaanite archers could rain down indiscriminate death, transforming this meticulous administrative triumph of moving an army into a chaotic, screaming abyss of blood and broken bronze. We are blind men walking into the maw of the devourer, tethered only to the pharaoh's madness. But Thutmose has cast aside the cautious geometry of mortal men for the terrible arithmetic of gods. His mind is a vast, unyielding archive of strategy, ignoring the pitiful whimpering of his purebred steeds and the quiet sobbing of young spearmen in the dark. focusing entirely on the divine mandate that burns behind his eyes. An administrative certainty that dictates the brutal necessity of this nightmare. He carries the unbearable weight of tomorrow, sacrificing the sanity of today upon the altar of empire. True power is the terrifying burden of forcing the world to conform to a singular, impossible will. The canyon walls converge, pressing inward until the sky is entirely eclipsed by black rock, creating a claustrophobic pressure that threatens to snap the collective mind of the army. A suspended moment in time where history holds its breath, waiting for the sudden, fatal scream of an ambush. Every muscle fiber in the vanguard is coiled to the point of tearing, every spear shaft gripped until knuckles bleed raw white beneath the dust. As the shadows deepen into a pitch-black curtain, concealing the threshold between glorious, unparalleled triumph and the total, humiliating annihilation of the two lands. The throat of the earth tightens, choking the light, choking the breath, choking the future. The shadows fracture, shattering violently against the blinding, unyielding gold of the Megiddo Valley. The jaws of the Aruna Pass release their grip, spitting the golden host out onto the high ground of the sprawling plain, directly behind the completely exposed and utterly defenseless rear guard of the enemy coalition, instantly validating the terrifying, divine gamble that has tormented the army for days. The madness was not madness at all, but a terrifying prophecy etched in blinding sunlight. In this singular, terrifying dawn, the geopolitical foundation of the ancient world is permanently rewritten. The deafening roar of 30,000 marching men dissolves into the quiet, desolate whistle of wind cutting through an empty canyon. As the crushing claustrophobia of the ancient shadows recedes, revealing the bleached, sun-baked limestone of the modern era, undisturbed and holding its long-forgotten secrets in absolute, eternal silence. The ruins of Megiddo sit upon the horizon like a collection of broken teeth, a silent, static testament to the blood and ambition that once saturated this soil. Stripped of the terror, the sweat, and the suffocating dust, leaving only the clinical, sterile measurements of modern archaeological inquiry. The ghosts of bronze and bone have faded, leaving behind only the cold indifference of time. The earth swallows the screaming of emperors, digesting their monumental arrogance into quiet, static layers of dust. We stand atop the wreckage of ancient administrative genius, observing the vast, empty landscapes where men once gambled the fate of entire civilizations upon a whisper in the dark, reminding us that the grandest tapestries of human history are woven not in comfort, but in moments of absolute, desperate terror. The path to eternity is rarely wide, paved, and bathed in the comfortable light of consensus. It is almost always a suffocating, jagged corridor of isolation, demanding a sacrifice of sanity and an embrace of the profound, crushing weight of leadership that isolates the divine from the merely mortal. We are all walking our own narrow paths, hoping the light at the end is not an ambush. The stone remembers the weight of the pharaoh, even as the world forgets his name.